Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wicked Encounters, where we explore just what goes bump in the night. I'm your host, Allie, and it's every horror fan's favorite time of year, October. In celebration of the spookiest month, I've compiled a list of movies that I think are worth sharing with you guys, and I'm calling it the 31 Days of Wicked Horror. We're on the 27th day of October now, but in case it's your first time checking in, I'll tell you how I've selected these movies that I believe are worthy enough for you to watch. First off, none of the movies are going to be older than 20 years, so we can add some newer videos to our must-watch lists instead of continuing to repeat the same ones from 50 years ago. Good old blood-sucking freaks can go. Secondly, I'll be providing the synopsis and plot of the movies for those who may not like surprises or just want to listen to know what the movies are about. There will be a slide letting you know when we're coming up on it, and I'll let you know where it's safe to click on to avoid spoilers. Also, while many of the movies are streamable, I'm not going to really provide the info on where you can watch them, because it varies based on where you live, and streaming services love removing and adding movies like there's no tomorrow. Finally, I'm going to give you some reasons as to why the movie stands out, and why I think you'll like it. So, 27 on our list is As Above, So Below. As Above, So Below is a found-footage horror film written and directed by John Eric Dowdle and co-written by his brother Drew, with production by Legendary Pictures and Brothers Dowdle. The movie follows Scarlett Marlowe, an ambitious archaeologist obsessed with finding the Philosopher's Stone. Scarlett and her team venture into the treacherous Paris catacombs, searching for the ancient artifact, and find more than they bargained for. I'm going to go more in depth and go over the plot of the movie now, so if you'd like to skip, you'll know where to skip to in 3, 2, 1. Scarlett Marlowe is a brilliant and ambitious young archaeologist and alchemy scholar who is driven by her late father's obsession to find the Philosopher's Stone, an ancient artifact believed to grant eternal life and turn any metal into gold. She has spent years searching and recently discovered clues in Iran that point to the legendary stone being hidden beneath Paris. Scarlett travels to Paris and recruits her ex-boyfriend George, an expert in Aramaic and ancient languages, and Benji, a cameraman documenting the expedition. The trio learns that the stone might be hidden in the infamous catacombs beneath the city, a vast and complex maze filled with the remains of millions of people. To navigate these treacherous catacombs, they enlist the help of a local guide named Papillon and his friends, Sui and Zed. As they venture deeper into the catacombs, the group encounters disturbing signs and inexplicable phenomena. They pass through increasingly tight spaces, claustrophobic tunnels, and eerie chambers filled with human bones. As they progress, they notice strange markings and symbols that confirm they are on the right path, but also hint at the dark history of the area. They also encounter unusual individuals and creatures who seem to appear and vanish, leaving the group unnerved. The group soon finds a passage that appears to be sealed. Papillon warns them that attempting to pass through is a bad omen, as many people who've entered never returned. Despite his reluctance, Scarlett insists on continuing, believing the Philosopher's Stone is close. Once they break through the wall, the journey takes a terrifying turn as they are confronted by hallucinations and manifestations that seem to draw from their deepest fears and regrets. Each member of the group begins to experience personal hauntings tied to unresolved guilt or trauma. George is haunted by visions of his younger brother, whom he accidentally abandoned to drown as a child. Scarlett confronts her guilt over her father's suicide, believing that she was responsible for his tragic end. Benji, the cameraman, experiences visions that hint at unresolved fears, and he eventually falls to his death in one of the more treacherous passages. As they continue further, they descend into increasingly nightmarish environments that defy logic, resembling both a distorted version of reality and a literal descent into hell. The group encounters inscriptions on the walls ancient texts and cryptic messages, including phrases that reference Dante's Inferno, further indicating they may be journeying into a symbolic representation of hell itself. The catacombs twist and distort as they descend, mirroring the as above, so below principle. Everything that happens in the world above has a mirrored equivalent below. Along the way, they encounter terrifying apparitions, including robed figures, demonic forces, and ghostly reminders of their past. The group becomes increasingly desperate, and with each horrifying encounter, they realize that they may need to confront and atone for their sins to escape. At last, Scarlet finds what appears to be the Philosopher's Stone, but its power doesn't work as expected. When her friends are injured, she attempts to use it to heal them, only to discover that she has been misinterpreting its power. Realizing that she must return the stone and confront her own demons directly, she makes her way back through the horrors of the catacombs, experiencing further psychological and supernatural challenges. This climactic journey of self-discovery forces Scarlet to face her guilt and acknowledge her inner darkness. In a final act of courage and self-acceptance, Scarlet returns to her friends, urging them to seek redemption for their actions and abandon their worldly desires. She realizes that to escape, they must symbolically descend and ascend by fully accepting and absolving themselves of their sins. Finally, they find a mysterious exit, a manhole that miraculously leads them back to the surface, where they emerge onto the streets of Paris. Only Scarlet, George, and Zed make it out alive, having each confronted and absolved themselves of their sins. The trio embraces, overcome with what they had to go through. And with that, the film ends. Hey there, nice to see you again! To those who stayed, I hope you enjoyed what you heard enough to give it a watch. And for those who skipped, I don't know why you did that. It's really such an interesting movie. Especially, have you ever seen The Catacombs? Ooh, spooky! But I bet you're wondering why it made it onto the list. What makes As Above, So Below stand out? Well, for one, it's such a unique setting to use the Paris catacombs. The Paris catacombs, with their miles of maze-like tunnels, provide a haunting and claustrophobic setting unlike any other. The catacombs' eerie atmosphere, with walls literally lined with human bones, creates a real-life sense of dread that's amplified by the film's supernatural themes. Filming on location adds a layer of authenticity that heightens the terror. Mythology and alchemical themes. The film incorporates elements of alchemy, mythology, and history, including references to the Philosopher's Stone and Dante's Inferno, which bring a unique intellectual and mystical aspect to the horror. This mix of ancient lore with modern supernatural elements enriches the story, giving it a sense of depth beyond typical horror films. Psychological and existential horror. Unlike many horror films that rely on external monsters, As Above, So Below taps into psychological and existential horror. The characters are confronted with manifestations of their own guilt and unresolved trauma, making the horror deeply personal and introspective. This approach elevates the terror from physical threats to deeply rooted fears of mortality and moral reckoning. Symbolic descent into hell. The movie's concept of a literal and symbolical descent into hell using Dante's Inferno as a reference gives it an allegorical quality. The group's journey mirrors the structure of Dante's descent through the 9 circles of hell, each new layer introducing more personal horrors. This literary allusion makes the film thought-provoking and aligns with the thematic concept of As Above, So Below, that internal conflicts mirror external challenges. Claustrophobic and immersive filming style. The use of a found footage style, with the camera moving frantically through cramped spaces, enhances the feeling of being trapped in the catacombs alongside the characters. The intense close-quarter shots, darkness, and erratic movement build a sense of claustrophobia, making the audience feel as if they too are lost in the labyrinth with no way out. Themes of redemption and self-acceptance. The film stands out by exploring the necessity of redemption and self-acceptance as essential to survive. Rather than focusing solely on external threats, The character's survival depends on their ability to confront and absolve themselves of their sins. This theme of atonement gives the film a redemptive arc that is rare in horror. Real-time discovery and unpredictability. The film creates a real-time feeling as the characters descend deeper into the unknown, leading to an unpredictable and suspenseful narrative. Because they are constantly moving forward, with no safe return path, every step carries higher stakes. This structure keeps the audience on edge, as both the characters and viewers discover the horrors together. Visceral and relentless atmosphere. The relentless descent into increasingly hellish and distorted environments enhances the atmosphere of despair and hopelessness. As the characters' surroundings become more nightmarish, the film effectively conveys the sense of being trapped in an inescapable nightmare, reinforcing its psychological impact. As Above, So Below stands out in the horror genre by combining intellectual, historical, and psychological elements with supernatural horror. Its unique setting in the catacombs, along with themes of redemption and the concept of facing personal demons, make it a haunting and immersive experience that goes beyond conventional scares. And that's all I have on As Above, So Below. I only have 4 more movies that I'll be sharing with you. What do you think they could be? How do you feel about As Above, So Below being on the list? Would it make it onto yours? Do you think the film was effective in its attempt of actually explaining and interpreting As Above, So Below? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to discuss horror movies more in depth with you all, so feel free to join the Wicked Encounters Discord group. If you like what I do and want to support me, maybe consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and clicking that little bell icon so you know when I post. If you want to support me in other ways, maybe check out my Patreon. Speaking of, I'd like to give a great big thank you to my patrons, Nakala and Beefalump. I have no words. You guys are just simply the best supporters I could ever have. Well, that's all I've got time for today. So remember, I'm Allie, this is Wicked Encounters, and I'll see you next time. Bye!